Hello everyone. In this video we're going to be solving a functional equation. We have f of square root of x squared plus 1 minus 1 equals 2x, and we're going to be solving for f, which means we're going to try to find an expression for f of x in terms of x. Now when you get an equation like this, some people think that to find f of x we just need to set the whole thing equal to x. And from here we get the square root of x squared plus 1 minus 1 is equal to x. And then we can just isolate the radical, square both sides, and then we should be able to solve for x. But that x value is going to be numerical. And when you plug it in on the right-hand side, when you plug it in on the right-hand side, it's not going to give you what you're looking for. It's just going to be a numerical value. That's not what we want because those x's are not supposed to be the same thing. Okay, let me explain what I mean by that. So to get an expression for f of x, first we're going to use a different variable, okay, so that they're not mixed up. And for most of the time you can use a y if you want. You can also use t, u, whatever. Let's use y this time. So instead of setting the whole thing equal to x, we're going to set it equal to y. And the reason behind that is if we can get an expression for f of y, then it's easy to turn it into f of x, okay? Again, by substitution, of course. Now, what does that mean? Replacing this whole thing with y. We can go ahead and set this equal to y. And our goal from here, like finding the inverse function, right? Just like that, would be to solve for x. Let's do it. We can add 1 to both sides and then square both sides. That makes sense, right? So when you square both sides, you're going to get rid of the radical. And again, our focus is solving for x. This should give you x squared plus 1 equals y squared plus 2y plus 1. The nice thing about it, 1 cancels out, leaving us with something simpler. Now, again, our goal is to solve for x. So let's go ahead and square root both sides. But of course, this gives us two solutions. Let's just, for now, go with the positive square root. Because there are two numbers whose square equals this, the square root of that and the opposite of that. Because when you square the opposite of something, you get the square of the same thing, right? So what does this mean? This means that by replacing x with square root of y squared plus 2y, we're supposed to get f of y. And you can always test it. So our original expression was this, right? Now what happens if you replace x with this, right? You can go ahead and plug it in. First step, you need to square x. If you square it, you're going to get y squared plus 2y plus y squared plus 2y, and then add the 1, and now square root it and minus 1. Now notice that this is y plus 1 squared, which is going to give you y plus 1. Of course, with the absolute value, there are some cases that you need to look at, so on and so forth. But keep it simple. It's going to turn into a y under certain conditions, okay? So it worked, and we shouldn't have to check this because it works if you did it correctly. But in this case, we did. Now, let's go ahead and plug it in on the right-hand side as well, which is going to be an easy task because by replacing x with this, we actually turn the whole thing inside the parentheses equal to y. And then on the right-hand side, we have 2x, which means all we have to do is multiply this radical by 2. And what is that supposed to mean? This gives you f of y in terms of y. Now, how do you get f of x from here? Very easy. Use substitution. But this is a simple one. You just replace y with x. And again, this is not the same x that we talked about. It's just a different x, okay? Don't get stuck on that one. So replace y with x, and then you will get f of x in terms of x. Make sense? That should be the answer. Now, is there another way to approach this problem? Probably. Let's go ahead and take a look at some alternatives. Even though they may not be the best choice, let's still take a look at them. Knowing different ways to solve a problem is actually an important skill. It's going to help you in the long run. So again, what is our problem? The problem is f of square root of x squared plus 1 minus 1 equals 2x, and our goal is to solve for f of x. So we need to do something so that we can turn this into x. Okay, how do we do that? First of all, I want you to notice one thing. If you take this and multiply by its conjugate, if you remember, a plus b and a minus b are conjugates. When you multiply these two things from difference of two squares, you're going to get square root of x squared plus 1 squared minus 1 squared. When you square a radical, you get x squared plus 1, the expression inside, minus 1. They're going to cancel out, and we're going to end up with x squared. Now, why is that important? Let's go ahead and write it one more time. We have this, oops, we made it too long. Maybe like this, minus 1 multiplied by the complex or the radical conjugate gives us x squared. Now, this is what you have. And if you can find this, then you can get to x squared, and then hopefully you can get to x. Does that make sense? Okay, that's going to be my goal. To do that, here's what I'm going to do. I can use substitution, but I'm going to try not to. This actually can be expressed in terms of this one. How? We can actually keep the first one as is, and write the second one as the same thing as before, and then plus a 2. What happened? Negative 1 plus 2 gives us positive 1. So it works. And this is equal to x squared. Now what does this give you, right? This gives you that, okay, if I start with this and then add 2 to it and multiply those together, I'm getting x squared. But my goal, again, is to get 2x, right? So how do I do that? How is it possible to get to 2x from here? Well, first of all, think about it this way. If you can get x squared, you should be able to get x easily as well. So let's do the following. We can distribute. Now, this is going to give us the square root of x squared plus 1 minus 1, and it'll be squared, right? And then it'll be 2 times the same expression, right? Okay. So you got to remember now, this is equal to x squared, right? Okay. And we have f of that, right? So how do you get to x? You can square root both sides to get x. And from here, here's what my goal is going to look like. X is going to be the square root of x squared plus 1 minus 1 squared plus 2 times the square root of x squared plus 1 minus 1. Makes sense? So far, so good. Are you following? Now, here's what we have. We have 2 times that. So we can actually multiply both sides by 2. Let's do that. And now we're going to go ahead and replace 2x on the right-hand side with this. Now notice that we have, wait a minute, do we have 2x? Yes, we do. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with this, f of square root of x squared plus 1 minus 1. And then that's equal to f of 2x, right? I mean, it's equal to 2x. It's going to equal 2 times the square root of x squared plus 1 minus 1 squared plus 2 times the same thing. You get the idea? My goal is to use the conjugate and get the same thing in terms of the other one. Now, here's what we have. We have something equals, f of something equals 2 times the square root of something squared plus 2 times something. So if this is something, okay, this is going to be, or we can call it apple. If this is apple, this is going to be apple, and this is going to be apple, okay? Now you have f of apple equals 2 times the square root of apple squared plus 2 times apple, whatever apple is, right? Now remember, our goal was to get an expression for f of x, replace apple with x. You're going to get 2 times the square root of x squared plus 2x as before. Did we get the same thing before with the first method? Yep, we did. Probably an easier way to do it, but again, you can sometimes manipulate expressions to get what you want. And this brings us to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I'll see you next time with another video. Until then, be safe, take care. Don't forget to check out aplusbi, and bye-bye.